Toujours au Festival America, nous sommes en compagnie d'Ian Levison. I wish to ask you, irony is a very important part in your writing. Do you think it's an efficient way of making people think about what you're pointing out? Or is there another reason for this?
No, I think that I'm just naturally a sarcastic person. It's absolutely an efficient way of getting my point across, but it's also really the only way I know how to do it, you know? And it comes through very much in my writing, more so than in my personality. Mm-hmm. So it's a nice outlet too. It works every possible way. So it's something that I've just become really dependent on in my writing. I enjoy the effect of it.
Yes, you use it almost as a writing tip. It's a reflect of your personality.
Yeah.
Just you are like this, so that's the way you write.
Yeah, it just seems to develop naturally. You know, I love when I'm able to write something that has a really ironic twist to it. And I'm actually writing something right now it just seems to have developed ironically. So, yeah, it works well.
What are you writing at the moment? Because your recent book was a kind of science fiction and thriller.
Politics. I'm writing about politics right now. The insides of a political campaign.
Oh, you might be inspired by what's happening now in the USA.
I don't think it's inspired would be the word, but yeah. Yeah, yes.
You may be a witness of what's happening.
The disgust I feel is a motivating factor, yes.
And do you see yourself as a kind of modern social writer, like we could have Zola or people like this in France? Because you said you were writing about politics, but there is a lot of violence, social injustice, all this social background in your writing. So would you qualify yourself as a social writer?
I think so, yeah. I mean, that's primarily the reason why I do it. And so it's mostly disgust with the system that I live in that prompts me to write. So I imagine that is it. Like, I don't have any desire to tell, love stories or anything like that. So yeah, I would imagine so, but I'm not sure that, like, the issues that Zola dealt with were, I think, more serious. The world has gotten better as far as treating, human rights. Mm-hmm. And so it's more the fine tuning. It's more America now is not like France in the 1900s. I think it was a lot worse then. Mm-hmm. And it was a lot worse in America in the 1900s. And so there's a tendency to imagine that the improvement is complete, but it's far from it. There's still a lot of social inequity and a lot of awfulness going on. And I like to comment on that. And so it requires more of a sense of living in the society and more of a finer kind of point making.
Mm-hmm. You're actually like a witness. What you see is not what people may think of how the time is, and you kind of describe what you see in reality.
Yeah, exactly. And I think working jobs like, being a truck driver and working as a fisherman, they've been, that's more training for writing than like anything I could have imagined learning in college,
Yes, because I saw you had 42, as you wrote in the book, 42 jobs before being a writer.
Right.
And how did the writing come? Was it obvious for you, or did you find out that you were maybe more gifted at this than on the 42 other jobs?
No, I'm certainly not gifted at any of them. It's like I've always been good at writing, like even in school, in primary school, I was good at it. And I just express myself naturally that way. And so it just kind of developed. I've always wanted to write. Mm-hmm. And so I was always working on things to write while I was working at these jobs. But, eventually I just decided writing about the jobs themselves and the people who do them would be, that's what I've learned and what I know now. And so it just kind of developed like that.
Yes, you write from what you have known, because I guess doing all the different jobs you have, like truck driver, fisherman, and so on, you had to face lots of social violence also, of inequalities, and
Yeah.
you were faced to it.
Yeah, but I mean, I experienced them as a healthy white man. And so it could be a lot worse. You know, I worked with Mexicans and I worked with a lot of black men who just didn't have the same opportunity and the same. I was also educated, and so it's not 100% a picture of what it's like to be working poor. You know,
Even if poor, you had some privileges because
Exactly.
you're white,
Yeah.
and you might have witnessed some injustice to the others, and.
Yeah, even in that world, you get extra points for being white. So, I try to give a perception of it, not necessarily from the perspective of the working poor, but just give an idea of what it's like for everybody there.
Your way of thinking, but maybe it's a personal vision, but I found your way of thinking very European, you know, with this very precise and detailed observation, but your way of thinking very American, your way of writing naturally like this, spontaneously. And do you feel more European or more American, or none of it?
Yeah, none of it. I'm a mix. You know, I got an advantage by coming to the U.S. from Europe when I was a child. And so everything that was American, that Americans take for granted, I got to see as an observer. And so it made a big difference. It was a huge advantage, I think, and it was very nice, because even though America is not wild about immigrants, they do like white immigrants from Northern Europe. They love our accents, they love our, you know, the British especially. And so I got a big lift from it.
Your last book published in France is a kind of science fiction paranoid thriller about how people watch us over, or how we are always watched over. What do you think about what's happening in the world now, this kind of speed around watching people over? And
yeah, it's fascinating because there are so many things going on with technology. It's completely changing the way we think about, you know, personal relationships and business, and just, I mean, everything is a problem. Everything creates new problems. Like Uber, you know, suddenly Uber, it's a great service, I use it, but it's pushing all these taxis out of business. And it's destroying the, you know, the family wealth of a lot of people who have invested their life savings in getting a taxi medallion. So, you know, and that's just one example. Everything, you know, with privacy concerns, there's a camera right there. You know, there's another one. So there, you know, sitting in this corner here, we've got two cameras. Yeah, everything you do is watched now, and it's great for solving crimes. You know, half the murders in London now are solved just by going through CCTV footage. But you know, it also creates new issues. You know, what if someone's having an affair and they're caught on camera? You know, that's not technically illegal. And now you have proof, and so you know, we've lost a lot. We've lost a lot of privacy. We've lost a lot of freedom. But you know, I don't know. I think for the most part, the effects are probably bad. Children don't go outside and play anymore. No. Apparently, it just came out yesterday that they watch Netflix over 10 times more than they play outdoors. So, you know, these are going to be things that affect society massively over the next 40, 50 years.
And maybe one of the worst is that we ask for this. We won't.
Yeah.
We all have iPads, iPhones, and we are always easy
right.
to be checked, like your character here who can read in people's mind. We agree if people read in our mind.
Yeah, it's intrusion, but it's intrusion we accept. And, you know, we're willing to pay the price. And there's no pushback. Nobody ever says, oh, we don't want more technology.
No, we want more and more.
Yeah.
So it's going to be worse and worse.
It's going to get worse and worse. And that we're going to have to adapt laws. We're going to have to change social, you know, tenets that have been around for decades, hundreds of years even.
As a writer, do you think you have kind of role to play, to say, hey, look what's going on. Maybe do you think reading your book, people can think about?
I hope so. What I hope to do is make people more aware of how insidious it is. Like for every time that every time you click on your iPhone, yes, you can use my location. You're actually giving up something. As long as you're aware that you're surrendering something. But they're just like, oh yes, I need the app to work, and so boop, they just think of it as something they have to do, like a check the box. Check the user agreement, which nobody ever reads because it's 14 pages long, and they just want the app to work. So you look in those user agreements, and there's some pretty, we can infest you with adware, we can infest you with this, we can infest you with spyware. So, yeah, just be aware, As long as people are aware, I don't think it's a problem, but they need to know, and I don't think anybody is. Vast majority, especially not children, they're just surrendering their privacy all over the place. So yeah, I grew up in a very different world than those kids out there. It's going to be a huge social difference, and I think that we need to raise the awareness of it, even though I hate that expression.
Yeah, so reading your book could be a good way of, I think.
Read that book.
It's a very different style, this last book, recent book, from the others. You went into science fiction, as I said. Did you especially enjoy this style, or is there something you prefer, you want to try?
I enjoyed it. It was fun, but I probably won't do that again. I'm not doing it for the next book. It served its purpose at the time. It was fun. It was enjoyable to write that because it's very fast paced. I just guess I kind of change a little bit each book, which is good. I like doing that. I don't put out a book every year. And so I think that was my first book in 4 or 5 years. And so the next book, it'll probably be 3-4 years. It allows me an opportunity to really develop a different style and a different way of expressing and develop a totally different story. So I try to keep the books unique.
My last question will be, what are you reading at the moment? Do you have a book to recommend?
Well, I just read an excellent book called Redeployment by Phil Clay. It was about the Iraq War. It's a collection of short stories. And right now I'm just reading a murder mystery by Lisa Brockman. Okay.
Thank you very much for this time and for this answer.
Thank you.